get our full-blown acceleration here now. Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video, we're gonna be going over the 2021 Dodge Durango SRT. Super excited to review the refresh on this particular one. But first and foremost, a huge shout out and thank you to the Dodge Ram and Sandy for giving me some time with the Durango. Check out their inventory in the link below. Let's get straight into the video. Under the hood of the SRT Durango, we have a naturally aspirated 6.4 liter Hemi V8 that goes to an 8-speed automatic transmission. Fuel economy is 13 around town and 19 on the highway. And if you're worried about those fuel economy numbers, then this is not the vehicle for you. And then power outputs are 475 horsepower and then 470 pound-feet of torque. Now let's go over the front end of the SRT Durango. So first and foremost, we have the awesome and massive performance hood. So you've got all of the venting here on the hood, which just looks super aggressive. And then you've got the performance front fascia as well, just tons of venting. And then you can see we've got the full LED lights. And the reason that I really like these lights actually is the turn signals are also integrated into the light. So you can see that it's all just like clean, all one little setup. Just looks really good in general. And then you've got the venting just down below with the fog lights, parking sensors all along the front. And I know a lot of people have complained about the fact that you can get an RT that looks like this or even a GT that looks like this. But here's the important thing. Just right here in really dark lettering that you really can't see, it says SRT, so who cares, right? Now coming around here to the side of the SRT, we've got these 20-inch wheels with two 95mm tires in the front and the rear. Now the color on these wheels is called Lights Out. Like, that is legit the name on the window sticker for these wheels. I think that's pretty cool. And then you have the massive brakes here in the front and the rear with the red brake calipers. And that's another way you can tell this is an SRT is they do the brake calipers in red. But then again, someone can just get a rattle can and make the brake calipers on their V6 GT red as well. So I mean, yeah, but whatever. I think these wheels though overall just look really cool with the red brake calipers. Just makes this look like a performance car. And then notice you've got the really dark 392 badge there on the side again. I mean, I know someone can put this on, but like, this is another way you can tell that it's a 392. And then other than that, here is your full side view on the 392 Durango. Now let's go into the trunk of the SRT Durango. So first and foremost, you guys can see there's a little bit of storage space just underneath. And then you get this little 12-volt back here as well. Now the seats are pretty simple. Just like all the other Durangos, you throw them down and then you just pull the strap to pick it back up. And then you've got the headrest as well. And I know some people might complain that these aren't automatic, but like, that's not the point of this vehicle, to have automatic rear seats. And other than that, storage space back here is pretty decent. It's average for like a third row SUV in this segment. Go over the rear of the SRT Durango. So we've got that signature Durango light bar here in the rear, and then you've got all of your kind of like dark gray. It's not blacked out, it's actually just really dark gray with the badging, another SRT logo. And then if you guys are wanting, towing capacity in the SRT is about 8,700 pounds. And then you guys can see the exhaust tip. So this exhaust tip is actually part of the package as well. So they black out the exhaust tip itself. Well, you can see it's like a double system. So you have the real exhaust tip, then you have this cover. The cover is what has been blacked out. Parking sensors all along the rest of the rear. And other than that, that is the back end of the SRT Durango. Now here's a door panel on the back of the SRT Durango. So you can see you've got really nice soft touch leather here on the side with the stitching all across. And then you got this little interesting trim right there. I really like the look on the door handles. It just looks very nice actually. And then here are the seats. Yes, this does have the red interior, which is my preferred color for the interior. You've got SRT there on the seats. Nice perforations all throughout the seats themselves. And then the bolsters are also just really soft in general. They're really comfortable to sit in. And speaking of sitting in them, let's actually pop in. So stepping in, step in height, it's actually really easy to get in here. If you guys are wondering, I'm 5'11". Now the seat is pushed back because it has memory seat function. So like once I get in, the seat will roll forward. So like that seat right there is a little bit more accurate for legroom. I probably should have sat on that side. But anyways, you can see you've got some vents down here. You've got your USBs, full power outlet, and then you've got your heated seat controls as well. Some cup holders, because this one does have the center console package. So you actually get a center console for the rear passengers, which is definitely different and awesome. And then you do have climate controls there at the top of the rear passengers. There's tons of vents all along the ceiling. And then you guys know with the Durango for the third row, the headroom's fine. It's just the legroom's a little bit more on the cramped side. So I'd reserve it for kids, but you can fit adults back there. And notice that you do get some cup holders. So like you get some luxury back there. Let's go over the door panel in the SRT Durango. So you've got soft touch all along here with the white contrasted stitching. This one does have the Harman Kardon sound system package, all of your window controls and your mirror adjustments. And again, just look how nice the door handle looks. You've got the memory seats just right next to it. And then we can see the seats here in the front. So same as the seats in the rear, they carry the materials all throughout. Got the SRT logo, really soft, really big bolsters. And by the way, it's like 20 degrees outside right now when I'm filming. And obviously you guys know that in really cold temperature, leather gets really hard, but this is still really soft even though it's super cold outside right now. And then you guys can see we've got the adjustments on the side of the seat. You've got the pedal layout just right there, and then we've got the light controls just up above, power adjustable steering wheel, and there's one more look before we pop in. Now let's go over the steering wheel of the SRT Durango. So you've got really soft touch leather at the top, and then like at the very bottom portions, and then you have the like dark gray trim right there on the center part, and then perforated leather on the side, so it's a little bit grippier. We're actually going to grab it so that you don't have your hands sliding all over the place. You can see you've got paddle shifters on the back of the steering wheel, and I really like the look of these paddle shifters. They're absolutely massive. And then you've got the controls for center stack, your voice command and phone controls. This is your cruise control. It does have adaptive cruise control. Now there are radio controls just underneath the paddle shifters as well. And then you've got the stock for the turn signal, and then also the windshield wipers. And that's the steering wheel for the SRT. Here's the center gauge clutch. You can see you've got RPMs over on the left side right there in the center. You've got the tachometer with the RPMs and everything. And then that little center part is actually a screen that you can scroll through a couple different menus. You actually do get an SRT page here in the center, which is pretty cool. Gives you like your 0 to 60 time, all that kind of stuff. And then you can see there's a couple different stuff with like your driver assistance, gas mileage. And again, if you buy this car, I don't want to hear about the gas mileage. This car is not about gas mileage whatsoever. But yeah, you can see there's a bunch of different screens that you can basically scroll through. Pretty straightforward setup. Most modern vehicles have something like this. Let's go over the center infotainment system of the SRT. So first off, let's actually pop it into reverse. You can see you've got a backup camera that's got trajectory lines that'll turn with the steering wheel, which is definitely pretty neat. And then remember, you do have the parking sensors in the front and in the rear. As for the rest of the infotainment system, you can see response time's really good. I love the climate controls, how they have race car helmets on everyone, which I think is pretty funny. Yes, you get heated and cooled seats for the front and a heated steering wheel. And then remember, you have the tri-zone climate, so you have 2 climate zones for the front, and then you've got 1 for the rear. Yeah, response time on the infotainment system is really good with this new system. But the most important part is, even in your 475 horsepower SRT Durango, you can still do the most important function of all, and that's smack the rear passengers in the back of the head. That's all that matters in life. But the other cool part about this is you do have the SRT page. So you've got like the performance page, you've got the drive modes, and then you got the race options as well. So like the performance pages just give you like real-time power outputs on the vehicle and everything. So like you can show and basically have it be a little dyno. So like if I floor it a little bit, it'll show a little dyno right there. And then boom, takes me right back, so that I can go over into the drive modes with this as well, and you can kind of set up the different drive modes. Now, the only drive modes you really need to know about with this vehicle are obviously the track and the sport, and then the auto, the snow, and then you've got the tow. This thing right here called Eco, just like if you need to put like a little piece of tape over that, whatever you got to do, because that mode should never be used whatsoever with this vehicle. You should drive it on the track, you should drive in the snow, you should tow with it, and you should do little drag races at every single red light with it, but you should never worry about fuel economy with it. Just down below, we've got our analog controls for the heated and cooled seats and the heated steering wheel. You've got your analog controls for the radio, climate controls right there in the center. And then just down here, this is for your lane departure assistance to turn it on or off. You probably can't see this very well because of the glare, but parking sensors, and then your stability control. Hazard lights are in the center. Yes, it does come with launch control, and you cannot use it till about 500 miles on the car once it's broken in, and then it'll let you use it. And then if you guys are wondering about this SRT button, that's just what pulls up the dashboard that lets you go through the different drive modes. And then once you have this pulled up, literally all you have to do is just press this, and it'll go into the drive mode for whatever you have it set. And then it also gives you basically a confirmation here in the center saying, hey, you're in track mode, hey, you're in sport mode, hey, you're in automatic mode. Pretty straightforward with that whole thing, but you just have that little shortcut button right there if you don't want to have to worry about going through the touchscreen to get to that screen. So just in this little area, we've got a wireless phone charger, a bunch of USBs, and then you do have the shifter for the 8-speed automatic. Again, you can shift the gears yourself with the manual mode there, or the paddles, whichever you prefer. Bunch of nice stitching and soft touch here on the side of the center console itself, a couple cup holders. Then you have the rest of the center console, which has a little 12 volt in it. They haven't changed that for a while, but it's kind of cool how the stitching like goes up inside of it, definitely different. And then you got more of that stitching all across the dash, and then opening up the glove box, lined with felt, nothing too crazy, it's a normal glove box. And then you got nice trim just up above the glove box as well. Up top here, we've got a universal garage door opener with a sunroof as well, just a regular sunroof, no panoramic or anything like that. And that's for the tailgate. And then you've got your cool shades sunglass holder and full black headliner, which obviously matches with the overall theme of the car. Now that we're done going over the interior on this SRT Durango, let's quickly talk about pricing. So in terms of pricing, this SRT Durango stickers for about $74,000 for any type of market adjustment. That all being said, let's take this SRT out and see how it drives. Let's quickly go over visibility here on the SRT before we set off. So you can see visibility over the hood. It's actually really decent. It's cool to see the little vents right there. There's your visibility through both the mirrors. And remember, you do have blind spot monitoring. And then here's all throughout the rest of the rear. So you have a bunch of really large windows. So visibility is really good. And on top of that, again, you've got the blind spot monitoring, so you're good to go. And let's set off in an SRT Durango while it's 32 degrees outside. We are setting off here in the SRT Durango, and first and foremost, we're actually going to talk about the road noise and the ride quality. And in terms of the noise that comes through into the cabin, we're actually right next to the interstate. I'm not really hearing anything. I'm hearing a bunch of noise from the engine and the exhaust, but nothing from that. Ride quality is actually pretty good. I kind of remember the SRT being firmer, but it's actually a lot smoother than I remember, which is obviously a good thing. Going over stuff, it doesn't really upset it. And obviously this has huge tires and wheels, and yeah, it doesn't track weird, it doesn't feel weird, anything like that. So it's really solid from a ride quality perspective as well, but it definitely feels tighter than a regular Durango. Like, you can definitely feel this is a performance variant, especially through the steering wheel and the suspension. It just feels, it doesn't feel rough, but it feels tighter, if that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, that feels completely normal. It doesn't feel crazy whatsoever. That is really good. That's exactly what you want with something like this. And so overall, obviously this has to perform well. It's kind of like a luxury car because it's in that price range, and it actually does a really good job at that. Now I am going to pop it over into the sport mode for probably most of the rest of the review. So this is kind of like our minor acceleration. This is just very, very partial throttle. So the sport mode definitely does hold it up into a little bit of a lower gear, obviously so that you're closer into the power bands. This is a naturally aspirated engine, so it's going to get its power a little bit higher up, but I mean, it's still a really torquey engine in general. And hopefully the coast is clear so that we can get our acceleration. Just gotta wait a second. Oh, and of course we hit into more traffic. Guys, this is like my life with reviewing cars, and I have to be extra careful in the morning because like Utah drivers are bad, but Utah drivers in the morning are like extra bad. So you've just you've got to be on your watch. But let's get our full-blown acceleration here now. I forgot how powerful this was. Dang, that is good. That sounds good too. You just don't get that sound in cars anymore because everyone's going for small displacement, twin turbo engines, and gosh, I miss that sound. This sounds so amazing. It's just crazy. Obviously, it's super quick from acceleration standpoint. It's like 4.5 seconds, 0 to 60, which for a third row, what I would call like a mommy mall crawler SUV, that is just absolutely insane. Like, I could not ask for more from this vehicle, and the sound is just amazing. You just don't get that anymore. You You just don't in today's world. And that'll actually get me into summing things up with the SRT Durango. So if you're looking for a little bit more of like an old school vehicle from like a performance standpoint, again, big displacement, loud, angry V8, then that's where the Durango really shines, because it's just, the sound quality is so much better than all the other SUVs in this segment right now. It's absolutely insane. Obviously it has a solid towing capacity. Obviously it's practical, it's a third row SUV, it's got all that stuff going for it. That's just a given. But from a performance standpoint, the acceleration is great. These brakes are actually really good as well. Sorry I didn't comment on those as much in today's video, but they're actually really good. The stopping power on this is really solid. And so just as an overall package, this is a really good value for what you're getting from a performance standpoint. And then it has all of the normal modern amenities. And so it's just a really good vehicle overall. And so if that's kind of what you're looking for, check this out. And I'm excited to drive the Hellcat version of this in the near future. That is going to sum things up for our video on this 2021 Dodge Durango SRT. And again, a huge shout out and thank you to the Dodge Ram here in Sandy for giving me some time with the Durango. Check out their inventory in the link below. I will see all of you in that next video.